All right, this video on percent change. Now, percent change is another way to talk about relative change. So in thinking about that, we know we're going to take our new value minus our old value and divide by the old value. One thing also to remember, you want to make sure you complete your numerator first before dividing by the old value. Now, few things to remember when we go through this section. All percents are referenced to 100, right? Percents out of 100. So if we say 40% more, well, that's the same as saying 140 over 100. Reference is 100. 40% more would be 140, because 40 more than 100 is 140. Or if we would say 17% less, well, the reference is 100. 17 less than that is 83. So this kind of gives us a setup for our proportion. All right, let's look at a couple examples with this. Gas prices are 15% more in California than in Ohio. This is completely made up. Where they are $2.09. Find the gas prices in California. Now, I always start with my percentage. So when I look and I see 15% more, more implies above. So again, my percent reference is 100. 15% more means I add 15 to that, and I get 115. Now, who's more expensive, California or Ohio? Well, they're 50% more in California. So California is the more expensive, Ohio is less. I say more expensive because 115 is greater than 100. So my other half of my proportion, this says in Ohio, where they are 209. That means Ohio is 209. Find the gas prices in California. So recall, cross multiply and divide. 100x equals 115 times 209. So I multiply those together before dividing both sides by 100, and I end up with gas prices in California of $2.40, roughly 15% more than what they are in Ohio. In example number 2, the number of Tic Tacs sold at Walmart is 23% less than the number sold at Meijer, which is 147,000. Find the number of Tic Tacs sold at Walmart. Again, made up data. So when I see the percent, 23% less, again, my reference is 100. Less means to take away. So 100 minus 23 would give me 77. Walmart is less. So Walmart's on the top, Meijer is on the bottom. When I go to my other spot, I see Meijer, which is, that means Meijer is the 147,000. Once again, I cross multiply and divide, solving my proportion, and at Walmart is 113,190 Tic Tacs. Example 3. Sarah's cholesterol is 160, which is 37% less than Bill's. Find Bill's cholesterol. Okay, again, I go to my percent. 37% less. My reference is 100. Less means take away. That gives me 63. Now let's go back. Sarah's cholesterol is 160, which is 37% less. That means Sarah's is less. Bill has a higher cholesterol. So Sarah's 160, Bill is X. I cross multiply and divide to solve my proportion, and Bill's cholesterol is 254, which is high. Bill, go get your cholesterol checked. Okay, example 4. The Smiths spent $6,000 on family vacation. This is 41% more than the Kincaid family. How much did the Kincaid family spend? All right, go to the percent. 41% more. Again, reference is 100. More means add 2. So I'm going to have 141. Now let's look at this. The Smiths spent $6,000. That references back previous, which is Smith. So Smiths are 41% more. Kincaids are less. So the Smiths spent $6,000. That means 6,000 goes on top, X on the bottom. I cross multiply and divide. And that means the Kincaids spent, if I round to the nearest penny, $4,255.32. Roughly, the Smiths spent roughly 41% more than that. And example 5. I like this one, this concept a little bit. So you're getting a 40% raise. You have two options. Receive all 40% today or 20% today and another 20% in 6 months. Which is better for you and why? All right, so we have two options to look at. One of them is 40% now, and the other is 20% now, 20% later. Okay, so we need kind of, I like concrete examples. So let's pretend that you make $10 an hour right now. Okay, just for easy figuring. If you get a 40% raise, that's an increase. So if we talk as a proportion, remember percent has reference of 100, 40% raise is increase. It's above, it's more. So that gives me 140. Now, right now you're making $10 an hour. What will you make with the raise? Cross multiply and divide. Your rate would then be $14 an hour. Right? Okay, not bad. Now let's go over here to example part 2. So this first part, you get 20% now. Well, if you get 20% now, same concept, right? You are now earning $12 after you cross multiply and divide, right? So for 6 months, you're going to make $12 an hour. Then we do that again, except now you're making $12. So when we cross multiply and divide, we are now making $14.40 an hour. So with the question of which is better for you and why, well, that kind of depends. If this is a summer job and you're only going to be there for 4 months, well, then you want to take, option A, the 40% now, because you're only going to be there for a few months. So you want to get as much as you can quickly. However, if this is your dream job, which is, great, if you are where you are and you love it, then you want to take option B, right? This is if you're in there for the long haul, because, yeah, for the first 6 months, you're going to lose out on that $2 an hour, but over time, you're going to make an extra 40 cents an hour. And we could do some math of how long it would take you to recoup the $2 an hour you lost for those 6 months, and that would not be too difficult if we wanted to. But if you're going to be there for an extended period of time, it would be worth it in the long run to get that extra 40 cents. And now, remember, we did a $10 an hour example. You could figure this on, what if you're making $25 an hour? How does that impact? But because of the percentages, it's still going to be relatively similar to this example. Yeah, but it shows you that breaking up 40% into 2 pieces will actually cost the company more money in the long run. It's cheaper at the outset, but more expensive over time. And I believe that, yep, that's the end of percent change for this video.